Hi, I'm Becca, and today I'm going to show you how we would make a button appear once your participant clicks on a slider inside PsychoPy. Now, what I'm going to show you today will work online as well, so if you're running a study in the browser through pavlovia.org, the same principle applies. So imagine that you've got an experiment where you're presenting your participant with a slider such as this, and of course your participant's going to make a response, something like this, and then a button should appear to allow your participant to click to move on. Okay, so this here is our end goal, so let's talk through how we would make this. Okay, so all I have got in my experiment file so far is just two routines. I've got a trial routine, and all that we have in this so far is just a text component that says, how much do you like PsychoPy? It's positioned at the very top of the screen and it starts at 0. And also I have a thanks routine that just says thank you to my participant at the end of the task, and this just presents for 1 second and then it ends. So I'm going to now add a slider component, which is going to be the main kind of response mode for my task. So the slider can be found under the responses section inside PsychoPy. And I'm just going to talk through a couple of the options here. So we first of all have our tick marks. Now this is just the kind of range and interval of options that your participant can have on their slider. I'm just going to leave this at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it might be that you want 1 and 100 or something on a totally different scale. Anything should work here. You can also use float values as well. But what we will want to know is, in terms of granularity, do you want your participant to only be able to make responses at each one of those interval levels? So in this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Or do you want them to be able to make a response that could fall somewhere between 2 of your tick values? Now, by default, granularity is 0, which means that you could make a response somewhere between 1 and 2, for example. So you've got this continuous scale. But I'm going to change that to be 1, just so that my response is going to be a discrete response mode. Okay, so in terms of labels, this is just going to be what labels appear along my tick marks. Now I could provide 5 labels here so that each one of my tick marks has its own corresponding value, or I could provide a reduced number of labels. So if I was to only provide 2 labels, then these labels would just appear at either end of my slider. If I was going to provide 3, then these would be evenly distributed along that scale, so 1 on either end and then 1 in the middle. I am just going to use 2, so not at all and very much. And I am just going to change the position of my slider so that it's in the middle of the screen instead of at the bottom. Now the important thing here is I am going to deselect this force end of routine option. Now if that's selected, that just means as soon as your participant clicks on the slider, that's going to end this routine and move on to the next trial or move on to the next routine. That does mean your participant doesn't have the chance to change their response if they want. So they don't get to click on the slider and then go, oh, actually, no, I'll click somewhere else. In this case, what we're going to do is we're going to allow the participant that chance to change their response, and then they can click on a button that is going to pop up as soon as a response has been made. So let's add that button now. So I am actually just going to use an image stimulus that's going to be clickable. I did make an image in PowerPoint earlier, very fancy, and I kind of know the rough size that should be. It's kind of wider than it is tall, and I want that to be positioned in the bottom, so it'll be -y, right hand side, so +x. Now, once this is on the screen, I want this to be of infinite duration because my participant can make a response for as long as they want, essentially. But the onset, this is where the magic happens. So usually we would be used to presenting stimuli in terms of time. For example, we're presenting this as soon as the routine starts, so at time point 0. In this case, we're going to have the onset instead be a condition. And that condition is going to be, has a response been made on my slider? So what I'm going to do here is just in the drop down, I'm going to click condition, And here I'm just going to type slider.rating. Okay, so I am gonna check in a minute if that works, but of course the last thing here I want a mouse response so that my participant can click on that image once it does appear. So I'm going to scroll down to the responses section. I'm just going to do exactly the same thing with my conditions, so slider.rating. It's going to have infinite duration, and I just want a valid click. So that means my participant can only click on the image. They can't just click anywhere on the screen in order to move on. And one thing I am going to do actually, I'm going to save the mouse state on the click. That just means that I'll have that time at which my participant clicked to end the routine. Okay, lovely. So let's press run and see if this here works. If it does, I will be very pleased. Okay, so we've got our slider. This looks like what we were aiming for. We also don't see a button yet, so that's good news. And hopefully when I click on this slider, yes, I see a button pop up. I can change my response. You'll notice it'll go along these discrete values because I've used that granularity setting of 1, and then I can click to continue. So thank you very much. I hope that you found this tutorial useful, and I hope to help you in other PsychoPy tutorials.